All right, welcome everyone. This Thursday night's edition of Southern Woods and Waters, and I've got a great show for you tonight because if you've checked outside lately, the temperatures are getting a little warmer. What does that bring? It brings on fishing, it brings on water recreational activities, it gets the family out there. I mean, school's almost over. We're fixing to be in the month of May. Kids are going to be wanting to go swimming, skiing, rafting, tubing, all that good stuff. And I couldn't think of a better guest to bring with me tonight, but to help you out in certain situations. And let's talk about some of these situations. And that is the Assistant Chief of Boating Enforcement. I have with me Officer Glenn Moates. Glenn, thank you so much for being on the show.
Glad to be here, Hugh. Thank you.
And I tell you what, now, people might take this for granted, but he is the Assistant Chief. Dan Ryder, of course, is the Chief.
Right.
And then you have another, what I would say, co-partner, there's another Assistant Chief.
Right.
Who is it now?
Cape Taylor.
Cape Taylor, okay,
You know
Cape
him?
Taylor, yep, sure do.
Yeah.
So both of y'all are right up under Darren, and tonight, Glenn, we wanted to just talk about some things that might be going on with boating, boating enforcement. Is there any new regulations from what it has been? You know, some things change. And we're also going to talk, ladies and gentlemen, about, sorry about that, I left my grandson's baseball game. And we won, by the way. We won. I'm thankful for that. Yeah. But we're going to talk about tonight, you know, kayak fishing, and this is what you and I discussed earlier in the week, is kayak fishing is really taking on. I'm telling you, everybody and his brother wants to go fishing. They're tired of sitting on the banks. Kayak is really a great economical means of getting away from the bank without spending $50,000, canoes and stuff like that. So we want to talk to you, ladies and gentlemen, about what's the proper equipment, what should you have, what should you carry with you, and things like that, just to make sure that you do things in a safe manner. We're not out here, are we, just to write tickets?
No, absolutely not.
We're out here because we want them to be safe.
That's right.
We want them to go home at the end of the day, and then we want them to come back tomorrow.
Want them to have a good time while they're out there.
That's right.
Yeah.
And that's basically all that TWRA does. TWRA does a fantastic job in supplying us with fishing opportunities and hunting opportunities and stuff like that. The law enforcement part of it is just to make sure we do it in a safe manner and we're not hurting anybody else.
Right. Keep the water safe and enjoyable.
It.
Right.
And to where everybody can enjoy it.
Right.
And that's the reason that we have the rules and regulations that we do. The main thing, Glenn, that I see, and I fish a lot, so the main thing I see is lights. Lights. I tell you what, when it's to where, now what do you as an officer consider, and what do your officers consider as the proper time to put your lights on?
Official sunset.
Official sunset,
right.
Okay, so.
And being a hunter and a fisherman, we're all familiar with what official sunset is.
That's right, the timetables.
Right.
And those are easily gotten. Matter of fact, you can watch Channel 5 News, and they give it to you every day.
Right.
So the official sunset, and now, they stop at official sunset? I mean, sunrise?
Right, yeah. Between sunset and sunrise is when the lights should be on.
Okay.
Yeah, navigation lights.
Now, we have, of course, I use a bass boat, but on the bass boats, we have a front navigable light,
right?
And it's red and green, and it's on a pole or a small pole,
right.
And then in the back we have a white light, a bright light.
Right.
Is there any deviation? I mean, do all vessels, water vessels, have to have that same lighting?
Motorized vessels, they do, yes.
Motorized.
Right.
Okay.
Now the front light, those lights are actually called side lights.
Right.
Some boats that are bigger may have them out on the side somewhat, so they can be out on the side. But there are certain requirements about the angles that they shine the light to and that sort of thing.
But most boat manufacturers are going to make them according to
they're required to make them.
They're required to make them according to the Coast Guard,
right. They are.
the angle measurements and stuff. So usually if somebody goes and buys a boat, they're pretty much if they put the lights on, it's pretty much goes with the boat, right?
Yes, right.
The one thing though I want to talk about is with all these kayak and canoes and that being a great thing and it's getting so popular, what is their lighting requirements?
Well, on non-motorized, smaller boats, like under 20 feet, so
Okay.
your kayaks, your canoes,
Right.
they can display those kind of lights, you know, if they had a battery with them in the boat or whatever, but they're not required to. The only thing they're required to have is a white light, such as a flashlight or some other sort of a lantern that they can display in time to avoid a collision. That's what the rule says.
Okay, now can we talk about that for just a second?
Yes.
You're saying that we have to have the light in time to avoid an accident, to be on display.
On canoes and kayaks, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they don't necessarily have to have it on all the time.
No, they don't. Because generally they're not powered, they don't have electric, they don't have a battery
Right.
with them. So they're supposed to carry it with them and display that at the appropriate time, is what it says.
So if a boat comes close or
they see another, you know, that
If they
there's
see
another boat
something.
within sight of them, they should display it.
they should display.
Yes.
That's what I was trying to get
Yeah,
at. Is,
yeah.
You know, like, well, all right, do we have to get technical with it can be so many feet? It should be if you can see a boat coming
Yeah, if you
on the water,
Right, if it's within sight,
display your
yes,
light.
yes.
LEDs, now I know sometimes LEDs aren't allowed on some, but LEDs
Now, are you talking about the LED strip lights they
yes.
put? See, those wouldn't meet the requirement of the law as far as cutoff angles. They're required to be seen at least a mile,
Right.
and that sort of thing. So usually they don't meet the legal standard.
Okay, so on a kayak you couldn't, the LEDs wouldn't be legal. It has to be something with a beam to it that you can see.
You're right,
Okay, all right. Canoes the same thing?
right.
So any non-motorized. Now, what
Right.
about sailboats? If they don't have a motor, they're a sailboat.
If they're small, say less than 21 feet,
Right.
they can display a light. Once they get bigger than that, they are required to have the navigation lights.
Are you required to have lights on if you're, say, moored out in a bay somewhere, or
If you're anchored, you're required to display the white light.
Okay.
Yes,
So
the
you
white
don't have
light.
to have the front, but you
No.
do have to have the white.
Right.
Well, that's I'm learning now because I thought you had to have both.
No.
If your boat was equipped with both.
No, if you're anchored, you display the white light only.
The
Once
white
you
light
pull up
only.
your anchor, even if you're drifting, you're required to have both on, because that's considered underway, really.
Right, and I want to talk about that too because that sometimes people don't understand what underway means. And in the handbook, in the guidebook, it does say if your boat is underway.
Right.
It doesn't say anything. It just says underway. Now, wind.
That means underway means you're not anchored or aground, really.
Okay.
Yeah. Anything but that, you're underway.
All right. Well, hold on to that
All
thought
right.
because I'm going to tell you something. We're going to get with Officer Glenn about all of this stuff and try to simplify it in ways that we can all understand because I'm learning myself and I'm thankful for guys like him that take the time to come do it. We got to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to get in depth with him. But first, we got to visit some of our fine sponsors.